Ladies and gentlemen, 4K resolution is here. Just look at the quality of this 4K image versus just regular old HD. But is 4K a gimmick? Is 4K worth it? Or is 4K just something that these manufacturers are using to make money? So let's look at the details and the technology behind 4K. I mean, obviously, right here, looking at this image, we can see the 4K image on the right has a lot more quality or information, accurate information, rather, about the image than the HD. As you can see, this is an eye, and you know what an eye is supposed to look like, and you know the shape of an eye, and you can see this is fairly accurate. This is zoomed in a lot, so you can see a lot of the pixels and stuff like that. But look over here, you don't really get that oval shape as much. You get these big fat pixels, and it's kind of blurred out. And look at even this, like this looks like some kind of ridges or skin flaps or whatever, I guess your eyebrow, whatever. Over here, not so much. It looks like something from like a sonar image or something like that. So big difference there. But, you know, don't get caught up into this stuff. Sometimes manufacturers can play around with numbers like the megapixel wars. You know, my camera has more megapixels than the last camera, but in reality, it may not really benefit you that much. I mean, they can do stuff like, look at this. Look at 4K compared to 1080p. I mean, you could fit like 4 1080p screens in this one 4K screen. I mean, so as a marketing thing, I can say, you know, 4 times the resolution or something crazy like that, which, you know, to the consumer who is uneducated, they just get blown away. Wow, 4 times the resolution, it's that's a no-brainer. I'm going to get the 4K. But what's the reality of that? The reality is this. This is a video shot in 4K, and it looks horrible. Now, by the standard of really, really low-cost equipment for the consumers, so a retail type of camera like the camera that was used to shoot this video, this looks pretty good. You get all the detail in the grass and stuff like that, but it actually looks a bit washed out. And it's not really that impressive, and this is not really professional 4K. So, what does 4K actually look like? I mean, not saying that this is not 4K, but what is 4K supposed to look like, or what can it look like? This is 4K. This was shot with a $10,000 camera, which has a lot more capability than the camera from what you just saw. Now, one of the things to understand, I know I've gotten into some of these conversations before talking about 2K in the past. The thing about it is, if you don't know what spatial resolution is, what chromatic resolution is, what color space is, 10-bit versus 8-bit, what does all that mean? Pixel density. If all these terms are terms that really mean nothing to you, then that can explain a lot of reasons why I'm seeing a lot of misinformation being passed along. I'm seeing all these videos of, you know, downsampling from 4K to 1080p and da-da-da, and then you look at the comment section and you're just like, wow, these people have no idea what they're talking about. So this is 4K. Not saying that the previous one wasn't 4K, but the thing is, and this is the marketing trick, the real important detail is not in how many pixels. How many pixels is something definitely to consider, but that's not the main thing. The main thing is the optics. The optics of the camera. How, you know, good quality the lenses are on the camera. Also, the processing. So what kind of a chip do you have? Back in the day, we had camcorders that had a single chip that were processing the 3 main colors, red, green, and blue. Then you had more advanced cameras that were using 3 separate chips, 1 chip per color. So 1 chip for red, 1 for green, 1 for blue. So those are the 3 CCD cameras, and those actually were giving you a high chromatic resolution. And chromatic resolution has to do with the color resolution, basically how many colors that the sensors are able to actually represent. Versus you have spatial resolution, which is really just talking about the amount of pixels. But the main thing that I want to get across to you is it's not just about pixels, it's about the quality of the pixels. So in other words, a high quality camera let's say a really high-end broadcast camera, which is producing standard 1080p, is going to give you a much better image at 1080p than some consumer grade camera that costs you like $400. So, case in point, if you took a 4K image from this consumer grade camera and compared it to 1080p from a high-end camera, the 1080p camera is going to look much better than the 4K camera. So it's not just about pixels. Pixels, that's really a marketing thing. Now this is a really beautiful, and this is not even the best of the best. This is one of those Canon cameras, so it's really this DSLR thing where people are using, picture cameras that are being used as camcorders. But the real deal, if you want to see what the real deal is, take a look at this. This is a Red 1. This is what we use in the professional world. It's well beyond consumer grade stuff. Very, very expensive camera. And as you can see, if you look at some of the specs on this right here, you see stuff like 12-bit RAW, which is insane. You see the color space, I believe, listed as 422, which is a very high chromatic resolution. So this is going to give you a lot of high color resolution. In other words, when you're capturing an image, you're capturing not only the differences in terms of lightness to darkness, so you have your shadows and your highlights and everything in between, but you also have colors. So you may have an image that has kind of a gradient where part of it is lighter than the other side of it, so maybe the light kind of falls off. So because of that fall off, you can have a color that goes from light yellow to a very, very dark yellow, and there's many gradations of yellow in between. And a camera with a high chromatic resolution is going to be able to accurately represent all those gradations or variations of that color yellow. Again, we're talking about something where you have a light fall off or a gradient. Now, something with a lower chromatic resolution is going to have to give you an average of what you're seeing, and that's when you're also getting into compression. Compression is where you're kind of getting rid of redundant information, but getting a little bit too technical. I didn't want to get this video too crazy, but again, the more important thing is the lenses and your imaging processing or image processing systems. So what kind of chip you have that's actually processing the image, and then what kind of compression you're using, or lack of compression. Lack of compression is better. That way, whatever the sensors are picking up, that's what's being represented by the image that you are capturing. Versus with compression, your sensors are picking up certain information, and then it's using that information to create its own thing. In a way, it's kind of like So it's kind of like it's almost like the camera is in a way doing a sketch with compression. That's kind of how compression works. So you take a look at something, and rather than just doing a photocopy of it, you're going to actually draw it yourself, and by drawing it, you're going to be losing certain detail because you're going to just focus on what's required to represent this image accurately to the human eye. So when I'm doing a sketch, I want you to look at this and realize or recognize what it is that I'm drawing for you. And to do that, I don't need to capture every single nuance that actually exists. So again, you have things like averaging that happens, and you're going to see how some of that works. Like I have something here to show you as an example. One of the things I kept seeing is people were doing these downsampling videos where they were taking like 4K videos and downsampling the 1080p, and people were saying, "Oh, the 1080p actually looks better than the 4K downsampled," and that was kind of a surprise to people. Well, let me break it down for you. And actually, I'm going to do a separate video. I don't want this video to be too long. We're going on about to be 10 minutes. I'm going to do a separate video, and this video that you're going to see here is going to show you a 5K native image. So an image that was, and what I did is I created these images in Photoshop so you get the maximum quality, because everything that's created, I'm creating it artificially on the computer. So that's the way I can get the maximum quality, period, because we're not considering lenses and reflections and glare and compression and none of that stuff. This is pure. This is the real deal pixel link. When I create a pixel, it's represented in this image. The only limitations are going to be what happens when you downsample the image, what's the size of the image, so what resolution I have the images as. But this is the real deal pretty much, I don't think there's any camera that can reproduce the same level of resolution that you're going to see here, because again, I'm artificially creating this. I don't have these other factors in between. It's kind of in a way like where you have, for those of you car guys, we have a car and you have the potential of power that the engine produces and then the actual power that it produces to the wheels, because there's a lot of stuff in between the engine and the wheels. So you lose power in between the transmission and so on and so forth. So same thing with a camera. You have the potential of what the lens can produce, but then you have other things that happen. Maybe there's glare on the lens. You have a lens that's not at high quality. You have the chips, which have a limited in terms of what they can do, what they can capture, and what they're able to discern. And then you have compression, which is averaging things down, so it's removing information, and then you have the final result of the files you're producing. Here, none of that. If I draw a pixel, if I take a 1 pixel brush and I draw a 1 pixel dot, that is what it is. So if I save that at an appropriate resolution, you're going to get what I drew. But then if I downsample it to a low resolution, you're going to see truly what happens in the downsampling alone with nothing else to be considered. So anyway, definitely subscribe for that. I'll be uploading that video pretty soon, where I'm going to show you comparison, real deal comparison, to let you understand what it means to downsample. So those of you who are thinking about buying a 4K camera and then downsampling 1080p, I'm going to show you what the advantages and disadvantages are of doing so, and I'll explain to you why it's a good thing or a bad thing depending on what you're looking to do. So you are watching Carlyle's Picks. I normally do these videos on Tuesdays for my Tech Tuesday series, but I'm making some changes to my channel here, so I'm going to be doing things kind of off schedule for a while as I restructure things. But definitely subscribe for more videos like this on technology, recommendations, reviews, and informational pieces like this. And definitely for my upcoming piece where I'm going to talk about 4K resolution and downsampling and what that's all about. So thank you for watching, and this is Carlyle's Picks. This is a top products list. I talk about cars, bikes, jets, boats, technology, and travel. And I think I have about 21 to 22,000 subscribers across all my channels right now. Thank you for all the support, everyone, and stay tuned for more.